experience. However, never been in those finals and never had this much on the line. So, Rich, let's talk about these boys in blue.
On the space station side, of course, the 2v2 duo, the longest-standing 2v2 duo in the game. AC and RF on the outsides, and in the middle, you see Lapicati, who was Rookie of the Season back in spring of 2019, and then the new addition over from Fnatic, Samuel, who's a ladder champion 30 times in the top 10, multiple-time #1 finishes. This team is stacked top to bottom, Andrew, and they've been great in head-to-head, but you know, talking about who has to really come through on the day, each of these teams has a real star player, and I think that for Space Station, you gotta count on the God RF. How he performs today will really dictate the success of this squad, especially because he is in both 2v2 and a 1v1 set.
Yeah, you know, the RF was one of those guys that we all kind of looked at when we were getting to know competitive CRL. He was like, wow, this guy's really, really good at 2v2, and the more that we looked into things, it turned out he was actually maybe the best graveyard player in the game. Then you flash forward to World Finals in 2018, and we saw just who Trainer Luis wanted to put in the most high-pressure situation in that seeding tournament, and it was the God RF.
Over on the other side of things, Misfits Gaming, and we've talked about this, maybe the most underrated or overlooked roster coming into this season. You have Air Surfer, Razor, Wings, and Dip, and you know, we talked about this top of the season, Andrew. Razor may be the most underrated player coming into the season. He's in the top 5 in nearly every category in career stats in Clash Royale League, and it seems like this season might be the one where the rest of the world finally catches up to just how good this guy actually is.
Yeah, and you know, and you have to give so much credit to so many guys on this roster for staying with it. Again, you talk about being underappreciated, you talk about Razor being maybe the most overlooked player in all of CRL, and that's so much of what Misfits is a squad of guys that have just stayed persistent, stayed consistent, and one of those guys is Wings. You talk about consistency. Look at this guy in King of the Hill. This season, he's 7-0. In general, this season, he's 9-1. This is a guy that only comes in that third set or in BO5s, but he makes his impact known to every squad in CRL East or West.
You want to talk about how good he is in King of the Hill? The overall win leader in King of the Hill. The overall top win rate in King of the Hill, and more sweeps than anybody else. So Wings, a key part of Misfits, but starting things off, we have our 2v2 set, and this is a great one to be in our championship, Andrew, because on one side, in AC and RF, the two winningest players in 2v2 history with 55 total game wins. On the other side, their long-standing rival Razor, currently at 54 total game wins. So the end of this set, one of these two will have taken control of that #1 spot and be the overall game leader in career 2v2 wins.
So here we go. The CRL West Spring 2020 Finals. This is the 2v2 set. And as you said it, 3 of the best 2v2 players that have ever played the game. And honestly, Dip is right behind him at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Dip and Razor together have been a good pairing. We've talked a lot about how they go together well socially and in terms of the way they approach the game conceptually. And he's had his ups and his downs this season, but it seems like he and Razor have finally found a great rhythm together, and we'll see if they can give AC and RF a proper run for their money.
So here we go, ACRF, bottom of your screen, rocking the Royal Recruits, so maybe expecting their Fisherman ban to really, really pay off here, so we'll see exactly how they're deciding to implement that, but Royal Recruits back in the 2v2.
It is interesting, Andrew, with the Fisherman ban seeing Royal Recruits mixed into a 2v2 deck. You know, we saw Royal Recruits primarily get mixed in when the Fisherman meta was at its peak, so very curious to see this deck choice from the Space Station duo.
Yeah, I know. It almost feels like it's a counterintuitive ban and then play, but I'm assuming they have something planned out, which is probably going to be a lot of bait once again. Maybe a little bit here because those Royal Recruits also were a great card to log or poison.
So far, seeing 2 giant skeletons and potentially 2 barrels. Is it possible we're looking at a clone deck out of Misfits here, Andrew?
I mean, we've seen crazier things before. Clone could definitely be happening. We might see something go to the skies.
Miner goes in on the right-hand side, getting that tower down to under 2,000 HP. So at the moment, It's AC and RF of Space Station Gaming in the lead with 15 seconds before double Elixir.
Yeah, you know, one thing that Oddcraft and the God RF have always done great is their minor play in 2v2. It's almost kind of underappreciated minor play just because they have so many great win conditions that they play with, but their minor work has always been very, very tough to keep up with in this set.
So big push on the right-hand side, Poison in response, and maybe you're seeing AC and RF trying to get just a little bit of value there on the Musketeer, but maybe they were trying to predict a clone there and get super value against that giant push.
And right now, Misfits, Razor, and Dippets are having a really, really tough time keeping up with the bait on the left-hand side. A lot of times that skeleton barrel is popping, and they're not responding to the skeletons on the ground, which is why that tower on the left-hand side is down to 1232. A great defensive rocket plus Royal Delivery, and just like that, the push dies on the right-hand side.
And now, not counting that giant skeleton, you see a lot of Elixir advantage right now on the side of Space Station Gaming. Inferno Tower down to deal with that giant skeleton. Skelly Barrel gets in front to pick up the aggro.
Yeah, you know, Oddcrap and RF recognizing, as you said, they were in a great position Elixir-wise, so what can they do? The safest thing they can do when they see something crossing across the river or coming down their lane is just, you know what, let's get that Inferno Tower down and see how our opponents want to support their push.
And that entire push really clogged up by the Royal recruits, so even not in a Fisherman game, you still see the value they can provide. Miner to pick up that giant skeleton. A little bit of danger here on the left-hand side. Space Station is low on Elixir, and here comes the clone.
Yeah, good call on that clone from earlier on. Space Station, though, looking for it, waiting for it. A bit of a double drop mistake on those two miners to come down defensively, leave them wanting Elixir-wise right now, which is why you finally see Misfits get a good strike on that left-hand side.
And you see now Misfits starting to pick up these skeleton barrels from Space Station with just the heal spirit. So getting a couple positive trades here and potentially building up for one big move as we approach triple Elixir.
What a frustrating 3 Elixir to deal with here for Misfits Gaming. That skeleton barrel has caused them so much damage with so little response throughout this entire 4 minutes.
Inferno Tower down, does go to the skeleton barrel. Huge clone at the bridge, trying to put a lot of pressure on here is Misfits. Their left-hand tower down to under 300 HP. Rocket comes in, GG, well played. Space Station takes game number 1 of the finals.
I mean, you talk about
extend the first set and keep their hopes alive here in 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Misfits, you know, like you said, it feels like this set is probably in favor to Space Station Gaming, but a 1 win here is really, really important, because again, we talk about Space Station and how they're momentum players. You do not want to start off against Space Station 0-2 in the 2v2.
That certainly, as a whole, no one wants to be in, and they have, both of these sides have some pretty nasty head-to-head play, and it's really hard to predict what happens once we get into those 1v1s. So this 2v2 carries all that much more importance, even though it's a best-of-5 set. Fireball takes the Skeleton Dragons off, and so far, another hot start from Space Station. How do they contend with this big lava push?
So here we go. A nice Royal Delivery, high bats, and all of it cleaned up just like that. They get a great counter push with the Skeleton Barrel Healer, and also a tank for those bats if necessary. Zap comes in, but you know, damage done once again on the top left-hand side.
First minute away, and it's Space Station out to a pretty solid lead, 14-20 to 22-19. And a little bit ahead on Elixir as well, by maybe about a half to 1 Elixir.
Yeah, along with that, you know, Musketeer being on the board, so they're going to stay very, very aggressive. They go in again with the barrel.
Yeah, this time going to the quad bait rather than minor skeleton barrel. It has a solid advantage. This is where you want to be with bait. The question now is, can Razor and Dip play enough defense and make a tower trade and turn this into a 2-tower game?
And I love the mental game that Space Station is playing with those barrels right now. If you're wondering at home, why are they not throwing the barrels around the tower? Tornado is banned. It's because a great snowball can activate King Tower. So you see RF and AC continuing to throw it to that safe spot, but then that time they threw it all to the front to mess with the snowball that they knew was back in cycle. So the snowball went to the spot they've been dropping it time and time again. They missed a couple goblins, a little bit more damage in by Space Station.
Double Elixir time. High Musketeer to get the Goblin Cage out of play. And Skelly Barrel should get just a little bit of damage there, and it gets quite a bit. Zap may be a half step late, 416 on that left-hand tower.
And Musketeers still on the board, supported by the Skeletons and the Bats. It made it so that those Skeleton Dragons could not connect on the Muskie, take it off the board quick enough. And look at this great poison. It's going to clean up everything on the board, assist with that balloon, and just like that, Space Station Gaming has 28 seconds to really hold on to a very easy lead.
Yeah, nice kite there to get the Mega Minion out of contention. You know, people talked in Season 1 about how certain mechanics like kiting might not be as involved in 2v2 as they are in head-to-head play. There you saw a little bit of value coming out from those Skeletons against the Mega Minions. That's going to be it. 2v2 set goes for an easy 2-0 sweep to Space Station Gaming, and they take an early advantage here in our Western Final.
Yeah, a frustrating outing there in the 2v2 for Razor and Dip. Dip will most likely now take a seat for the rest of the day, so a little bit of a lackluster finals for him. You know, nice try there in the 2v2. Razor, you have to imagine, if they make it to King of the Hill, and in the course, showing up against TNT in that 1v1 set and taking a game off of him. So here we go. It is going to be Samuel and Wings, and this is huge, man. I mean, this could go either way.
This is a big one. Let's go ahead and jump into game number 1. Wings for Misfits at the top of your screen, Samuel at the bottom. And talked about this beforehand. Samuel has never really had that big run in CRL that we suspected coming from him after being such a great ladder player. And then, of course, finally in this playoffs is when he really showed up for his squad, and that big win over Jupiter King put them through, or helped put them over into a position to get to these finals. So let's see what these two guys have in store for us in set number 2.
Yeah, you know, he started off his playoff career with having that great set against Igor against Team Liquid, which I think a lot of people had Igor winning that one. A betting man, I probably would have put Igor there as well. But Samuel came out and did a great job, and it put Liquid in a huge hole. So it was easy for Space Station to take that in 4, and then exactly what you're talking about. He loses that set in the 1v1 to TNT, but then comes right back around in 1, 2, 3, Azili's, TNT, and Jupiter King to get Space Station where they are now.
First minute away, and it is so far Samuel with the bigger chunk of damage as we've started things off. You see a lot of fishermen here, Andrew.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Wings is a guy that we talk a lot about with in King of the Hill, but you talk about his 1v1 career, and it's shockingly contrasting when you look at the numbers. I mean, 1v1, we're talking about a 33% win rate. King of the Hill, we're talking about basically 70% win rate. So just a slight disconnect there for the King of the Hill star of Misfits.
You see a very aggressive Royal Giant to take advantage of that fisherman being cycled in the back. Doesn't get a ton of damage, though, and just like that, Samuel back in the lead by a fairly significant margin, 16-26 to 20-26.
Yeah, you know, that log, it had the fisherman stay locked on that baby dragon, or excuse me, the baby dragon locked on the fisherman. The bats were able to help out and just get a little bit more damage in, and those units stayed on the board a little bit longer than Wings would have liked.
Giant cycles in the back for Samuel just as we hit double elixir time. And it's interesting, you see the Heal Spirit in here as well, which so versatile, fits into so many different decks, and this new version of Giant Miner gives a little bit of value with the Fisherman and that Night Witch right behind.
Yeah, the Heal Spirit there, kind of a little wrench in what you'd assume, but you look at the rest of the cards, and the Night Witch, the E-Wiz, and of course the Miner, and you have to assume it's probably going to be Giant. So yeah, like you said, Giant Miner here for Samuel going up against Royal Giant Lightning from Wings, and you know, keeping that Lightning value at bay is going to be something really challenging for Samuel here as we get into double and triple.
Yeah, you saw some pretty good value there in that last bridge battle. Here we go, final 15 seconds, and does not get the Night Witch out.
No.
But that Baby Dragon will be more than enough to clean up those bats.
And Samuel starting another push here. It got a lot more elixir on the board than Wings, and knowing that that Lightning is out of cycle, he's going to go aggro right here. Miner to the back, going to get picked up by that Fisherman.
Yeah, sharp Fisherman placement there, knowing the Miner was probably coming in with the Giant tanking. Although, what can he do here to stop this big chunk of damage, Andrew?
Nothing. Fisherman getting tanked for by the Giant. Fireball comes in to clean everything out. There is a log, and now just one more Fireball away. Space Station Gaming came to play today.
And there you have it. Samuel taking game number 1 with style. Goes Miner to the number 3 spot, high and inside. And there you have it. Game number 1 goes to Space Station. Advantage none. But there's one big caveat to that, Andrew. You have to get to King of the Hill to let that actually shine.
This is very, very true.
So Samuel may be running it back here. Fireball on the Magic Archer, going to do that a lot. We'll see if Wings is giving more bait for that Fireball than just the Magic Archer, or if he has something else in mind.
So here we go. Sam looks like he's going right back to the well.
And there you go. The Hogs do come out. So a couple different good targets for that Fireball. We'll see if he can do a good job of stretching Samuel thin with his choices.
Yeah, and you know, Cannon Card, a card that we saw a lot when it got its initial buff and then kind of fell by the wayside, and that happens a lot here in the West. People just kind of forget about how strong cards can be, and look at that. He goes for the Heal Spirit right behind to give that Cannon Card just a little bit more mobility to get on that tower. A response from Samuel with the Heal Spirit keeps it right there at the bridge.
Just a half second late with that Heal Spirit. You saw that the Cannon Cart went down to off its wheels just before, so we'll see if Wings can get that timing down a little bit better in the next exchange. It's so hard with that one, Andrew, because you want to get that Heal Spirit down at the right time, but if you do it too early, it's predictable, and it can get logged off, as you see from Samuel's deck.
Look at that, the Fisherman to meet the other Fisherman. What beautiful plays here by Samuel. Living in the future now completely supports that E-Wiz. Giants across the river, and that Fisherman cannot do anything other than stay stunned.
Yeah, a little more DPS here, though, out of Wings this time with that Cannon Cart, not to mention the E-Wiz here to stun things a little. So this one is going to have a bit more defensive capability in this matchup than the last time out.
And we'll see how exactly Wings wants to turn his counter pushes into offense, or if he ends up going opposite lane, what exactly he wants to do. So he is going to go opposite lane. You can expect the Fisherman going to come down. There it is for King Tower activation. But what is he going to do about all this DPS on the left-hand side?
And Fireball will put that Cannon Cart pretty low, although now the Cannon Cart acts to pull the Giant in a little bit. So you see that phase 2 helpful. Miner goes right to the E-Wiz, trying to clear some room. Fisherman trying to support there on defense, but an E-Wiz and 2 Night Witches. Look at that bat damage on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that Fireball was almost perfect by Wings, but it actually does not knock the Night Witch back far enough. Night Witch tanks for those bats, and now about only 100 HP separate these two. But you got to remember, Wings did a great job with that push on the left-hand side, and now Fisherman is out of cycle.
And Fisherman pulls the Giant away just a little bit. Heal Spirit gives that Cannon Cart some more value, but the Fisherman pulls it away from the Giant. Miner gets on tower, and there you go. Samuel behind now by just a handful of HP.
7 HP. There's the Fireball to come in. I think that's all the elixir we're going to get, so a couple Hog bites, whatever you want to call them, on the left-hand side are going to come in. Now you know the Giant's going to go up front. There it is. How does Wings stop this?
And not quite protecting that Magic Archer, but with the pull, doesn't pull the Magic Archer all the way across. Now, what can Wings do to defend against this big-time push? Miner on the right-hand side on the Cannon Cart. Those bats should get a little bit more damage, and the E-Wiz comes in maybe a half step early.
Miner still taking for those bats, able to get it down finally. Another Giant at the river, and guess what? Sam is waiting for that Fisherman. And now, Wings, I love the idea here is you keep that Heal Spirit on the Fisherman, but the Fisherman doesn't turn and focus on the Giant. That is going to be GG, my friend.
Wow, Miner goes to the back, Fireball into a...
So here we go. It's the rematch from their 4th matchup. Lapakati and Air Surfer now in a different set, but still 1v1 for everything on the line.
So no early moments. Oh, and Lapo going Mortar to open up the set.
I love it, Rich. I love it.
We've talked a lot in the past about Lapakati's penchant for going Mortar in game number 2. Well, he wants to play what he's good at. Why not do it in game 1? Throw a bit of a swerve on what he's done historically. Can't wait to see one of the greats go at it.
So here we go. Royal Hogs against Mortar. See if this is the Mortar Rocket deck. Or if it's also Mortar... Oh, okay, here we go. Miner in.
Miner goes to the back. Hunter gets kited a little bit to the middle there, so we'll go to work on the flying machine rather than tower damage, but the advantage taken now by Lapakati by about 100 HP in the right-hand lane.
Yeah, really, really great interactions so far for both of these guys. Lapakati not going to have a big spell to deal with those Hogs, most likely, so going to have to find a little bit more creative ways. And with how quick this deck cycles, one of the things we can imagine to see out of Lapacati is playing that mortar defensively as we're lower, but then getting a second mortar down or getting the mortar back down as soon as this one goes down to put offensive pressure up once we have that elixir flowing more quickly.
And a nice low mortar play you see there from Lapacati as well. A lot of people will play that one tile higher, maybe out of nervousness, but that placement absolutely perfect from the mortar grade. So pressure in both lanes now. A bit of an elixir advantage here for Air Surfer.
Yeah, and he goes the nice placed Knight there. Knight is going to walk towards the weaker tower, although it shouldn't really get any damage in.
Air Surfer up by 2, chooses to cycle bats in the back, and split hogs up high.
So there we go, split hogs. There's the flying machine to look for. So that's something the Lapacati is going to have to be cognizant of in the future. So we'll see. I mean, it doesn't feel like he'll go mortar bats immediately because he's probably gives more respect to Air Surfer, and he doesn't think Air Surfer is going to go the exact same interaction. So excited to see what happens next with the Royal Hogs push.
Well, he has 2 options. Of course, this cycle doesn't help it, but does have 2 options of going with either the Musketeer high or the Flying Machine high. Of course, Flying Machine a little more push into the center, as you can see right there, and a good little chunk of damage here from Air Surfer as we move closer to sudden death.
Oh, and look at that on the left-hand side. Flying Machine gets shots in and takes for that Musketeer, both sides taking a ton of damage.
Final 15 seconds of regulation, and with that, Air Surfer in the lead, 1196 and 1238. So both towers ahead of that right-hand tower that Lapacati has chipped down to 1413.
And Misfits really needs this win here. They really, truly do. If you talk about confidence, you talk about momentum, to go to anytime you lose a game is you're out of the entire tournament is really, really rough. Air Surfer needs to pick up this W.
Cycling Dark Prince on that right-hand side. Expect to see probably that Dark Prince in this lane pretty consistently, maybe hoping to catch a Miner in the midst, but you see Miner cycled in the back here defensively from Lapo instead.
Yeah, one of those bats gets cleaned off the board by the Flying Machine, then they turn around and get a little bit of damage on there. Flying Machine going to take the mortar off the board, so a high Hunter has to come in.
And again, you see that Dark Prince continues to go to that right-hand lane. Little kite action there from the Heal Spirit, keeping the Hunter from getting chip damage on the right-hand side. Air Surfer. Both these guys right now playing very conservatively at this stage in the game.
Well, what's so excellent, and there's that offensive mortar I was talking about, what's so excellent about the way that Air Surfer is playing that Dark Knight, or Dark Prince, is because he knows that there are very few adequate responses to that Dark Prince other than using a Miner defensively or the Knight. So keeping one of those out of cycle at all times is making it really hard for Lapo to get damage on that tower.
Mortar down again, Heal Spirit to try to help out that Dark Prince on the right-hand side. Piggy's trying to make room. Miner is uncontested in the back on the right-hand side, so just like that, Lapo takes the lead with 40 seconds left.
Yeah, Hunter played really, really high on that. It felt like it might have been a slight misplay, but Lapo was able to recover, and then nothing, as you said, nothing focused on that Miner to give him a slight lead.
Royal Hogs in on the left-hand side. Mortar picks it up. 24 seconds left. Flying Machine behind, trying to make any sort of room, get some damage on tower here. Heal Spirit comes in. That could be a big one, Andrew.
Yeah, a little bit of danger there. The Knight was getting focused on by that Musketeer. Lapacati somehow survives. Now going to go maybe Miner plus Poison, but Air Surfer sells out on the right-hand side. Lapacati cannot.
685 to 761.
God.
Will these get there? Mortar does not connect, does not matter. Lapacati wins game number 1 by a hair. 76 HP to take the win.
We lots of a ton of micro interactions, which Lapo is so good at. And starting with the Ice Spirit, maybe we're going that way.
Yeah, certainly feels like it. Bats as well, and you see Air Surfer opening up with his signature emote, the Golden Piggy.
And here we go.
It's going to be Hog Cycle for Lapo.
Wow, all right, so Lapacati, you can imagine, is going to try to get a ton of damage in here in single elixir.
So a lot of standard pieces of Hog Cycle decks, the Musketeer, the Ice Spirit, and it's a giant skeleton the opposite direction from Air Surfer. And Andrew, why not have a mortar in there? Hog Mortar from Lapacati.
Yes, dude.
But this is that giant skeleton balloon deck on the right-hand side, and pretty nasty push coming in. Does he have any way to get this past the Musketeer right now?
A perfect play there. Giant skeleton does not get close enough. I can't see because of the balloon. Yeah, giant skeleton not quite close enough. Very, very close. I mean, Lapacati barely got away with that one. but a lot of damage behind.
Yeah, massive balloon connection, but keep in mind, folks, as you're watching, that right-hand tower down to 398. Take a look at that left-hand side, 1214. So, of course, that right-hand tower is certainly in a lot more danger, but Lapacati with a good chance of taking that left-hand side as well.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting here if we do get to a two-tower game, which deck fares better here, because a lot of times with minor bait, you can struggle, minor mortar bait, you can struggle a lot in double elixir. Mortar hog is not a type that I play much. I'm just not really a hog rider player, so I don't know how well it fares in double elixir, personally.
And the Musketeer does not get pulled all the way across the bridge, but a little push here on the left-hand side. Valk comes in high to clean it up. Fisherman sneaks right on by.
Wow, and that Valkyrie getting away actually kites the Baby Dragon for just one extra belch, but still not the interaction there that Lapa wants, and he goes right back to an aggressive border on offense.
Nice little Ice Spirit Valk to defend that right-hand side. With 45 seconds left, the lead of Air Surfer has diminished, but he does have damage in both lanes.
Yeah, and neither of these guys have great direct tower damage, obviously. One with the Miner and Snowball, the other one with the Hog and the Snowball. And look at that! Does it hit? Yes, it does.
The Snowball did not push the way that Air Surfer wanted, so forced to do a little extra dropping on that left-hand side with the E-Wiz and the Fisherman both. Let's see what kind of defense Lapacati can put together on the left-hand lane. And there you go. The Hog might help with some kiting in the opposite direction. Does Fisherman stop a hit? And it does, but can it get in? Hog Rider gets one huge hit.
With only 10 seconds left, this is becoming really, really difficult for Air Surfer to get damage on the tower. And you see here, Lapo cycling cards towards the right, looking for that Miner. There it is. Hog Rider is in, but will that Miner connect in time?
Miner chipping away here on that right-hand side, 118 to 246. Lapacati trying to hold on, has a lot on the left-hand side to deal with as well. Gonna go Hog high. Can the Hog sneak on through? Snowballs each direction. Hog not gonna connect here, and Baby Dragon puts that left. Just gets him in the right mindset, gets him a little bit loose. Career-wise, this has been his best season overall in CRL at a 57% win rate in head-to-head play. Compared to his previous seasons, that's the best one. He got the closest with Complexity back in the spring at 50%. But this is kind of feeling like the season where Air Surfer, we see the promise of Air Surfer finally realized in CRL.
Yeah, and I see here on the YouTube chat that there's people are saying a bit of lag popped up there. Yes, we do apologize, but should be back to normal now. Air Surfer goes back to the Hogs. Lapacati changing things up, maybe going Graveyard.
Yeah, it certainly feels that direction with the Barb Hut, and of course, if there's any team that has some good graveyard coaches, Space Station might be one of them with the God RF.
And we'll see just how Lapacati deals with this Flying Machine moving on. Flying Machine's going to be really, really tough to get to if you don't have a great spell to get right on top of that. But first, Lapa has to decide where he's going to use his spells. Is it going to be on these Flying Machines, or is it going to be on the Hog Rider, or the Royal Hogs?
Well, and I was just about to say, I thought that he might be queuing that poison up here with the Musketeer and the Flying Machine both in range, and does it perfectly. Heal Spirit will prevent any extra damage there on Air Surfer's side, and a big Royal Hogs push with Heal Spirit on the left.
Yeah, what a perfectly placed Heal Spirit. Takes a half a lick of damage there, still able to support these Hog Riders to get some good damage in on that bottom left tower.
Air Surfer cycles the Dark Prince in the back. First 2 minutes away, approaching double elixir time, and no significant damage yet. The lead, though, does go to Air Surfer by about 300 HP.
And we'll see just how Lapa wants to deal with these Dark Princes from Air Surfer. They've been giving him trouble in this entire set. Will it be the same case here in Game 3?
Going to keep setting up the Barb Hut on this left-hand side. We'll see if Air Surfer at some point chooses to switch lanes, but for the moment, content to play here on the left-hand side.
See a Snowball coming in instead of what maybe would have been expected to be Royal Hogs, so you like that from Air Surfer.
Graveyard in and Barbs in the back to play some defense, though solid poison value for Lapacati in front. The Heal Spirit gives extra life to that Musketeer.
Yeah, the dangerous thing here, though, is if you go poison high, look at the health of those Barbarians. So now Air Surfer in a point, you see he's cycling in the back here because he knows this push crossing the river is going to demand a huge response. So instead, Air Surfer is setting up for his next split of these Royal Hogs.
But keep this in mind, Andrew, that Lapacati knows now that there's no really great way for Air Surfer to deal with the Skeleton Dragons when they're behind a tank. There's no direct spell to take them off the board, so maybe he's got a little bit of confidence there because he now sees there's no big spell.
Yeah, and look at this battle going on at the river. Absolutely impressive from both sides, keeping the Musketeers alive as long as they possibly could. Lapacati comes out on top, but then Air Surfer attacks on the right-hand side.
Delivery Musketeer on the right-hand lane mitigates most of that damage. Dark Prince, Heal Spirit, Bats, Flying Machine, everything going left right now for Air Surfer.
Where's the Royal Delivery? Is it back in cycle? No, so Skeleton Dragons come down to help deal with that Dark Prince that will get a charging hit.
Barb's right-hand lane. Final minute of gameplay approaching. Delivery now not in cycle to deal with potential hogs, but Lapo has plenty of elixir left to put down the Barb Hut, and he does.
Yeah, so what is Lapo going to do about this Flying Machine? Does he have a great way to get to it? Is he just going to keep going for this poison value? And it's pure so.
And Flying Machine does go away. Dark Prince working on the Barbarian Hut. Final minute, triple elixir. Pretty much tied up here on both sides. Lapacati with game, set, and match point here if he can get the win in these next 45.
Yeah, Air Surfer needs to get some damage on those towers. Lapacati obviously in a bit of an advantage here, having that poison in his hand. You look at Air Surfer, and all he's got is that snowball. Lapo with that Barb Hut is going to be able to keep these hogs at bay, except for right now on that right-hand side, maybe a bit of a mental slip.
Air Surfer going into the strong side tower. Really, I don't know how he's going to break through on this weak side. And keep in mind, he does not have a big spell. So Air Surfer in a bit of trouble here. Poison played at the bridge. Lapo not putting the poison on that tower.
I'm shocked he didn't get it on the tower because it feels like he would have been able to keep that at bay. He goes Graveyard on offense. Skeletons get a hit. That is a huge skeleton hit, Rich.
Snowball needs to come in for Air Surfer to try to steal this one back. Can it do it? No, it won't. Lapacati seals the championship for Space Station Gaming.
42 HP, and we